I'm getting something about the lighting. I don't know. It's giving it a very like 1990s horror film vibe. It doesn't look right, but I'm tired of messing with it. So it's gonna be, it is what it is, and that's just how it's gonna be. I wish I was on a cruise. No, I was gone last week because I was doing the summer camp thing. So I was helping run a summer camp for a week for 41 uh underserved kids on the eastern, ooh, that was worse. On the eastern shore of Virginia. And I was also responsible for 17 teenagers, which was lovely. I love that. I love those teenagers. I love most of those teenagers. I love all but one of those teenagers. It's Microsoft. I totally wish though I was at Disney World and not there. Not, I don't want to say that because I really love going on this trip every year. I really love being with the kids that need us, and doing all the things we get to do with them. It's a lot of fun. We took them to a trampoline park, which I hurt myself at the trampoline park. We took them to the pool. We're helping teach them how to swim. We did a bunch of crafts. Did all the fun stuff with them. It was great. I love it. The main reason I did, like, it is so stressful and it is emotionally draining, but the thing that makes it all worth it is the kids. Hang on, Spuds. Did I miss something? What is it? So yeah. It's that's the part that really like is important to me is the stuff that we get to do with the kids. That is part of my life goal. I have 3 major travel goals, okay? I have 3. They're very simple. One is to visit every single US state, one is to visit every single continent, and one is to visit every single Disney park. Now, I can knock out almost every single continent with every single Disney park if I visit every single Disney park. They haven't put one on Antarctica yet, but from what I understand, I can either go to South America or Australia and take a cruise to Antarctica. Oh, congratulations! So yeah, I was gone. I'm sure you guys missed me. I would have read to you guys while I was on the trip, but 2 things. One, the internet service on the eastern shore of Virginia sucks. Is terrible. Hi, Supreme Chancellor. And number 2, I was far too exhausted every single night to actually be up at 10 o'clock. Oh my gosh, I was so exhausted. And then the crowning jewel of the whole week was my friend Ellie passed away, which is still like, it doesn't feel real. Like, it's real. Like, had her funeral on Friday, but it's like, it just doesn't feel real. Like, I keep pulling up my text chats with her, like on either Facebook or just regular text, to be like, it's a joke, right? Like, you're gonna totally, like, I keep thinking, like, I'm gonna pick up the phone and she's just gonna call and be like, haha, it was a joke. And it doesn't feel real. If I'm being honest, like, I keep waiting for her to send me a funny TikTok because we would do that all the time. Like, yeah, I'm expecting her to just like send me a text and be like, haha, it was a joke. It wasn't a funny one. But it's so like, it just doesn't feel real. And so, like, I was talking to my therapist about that. He's like, why doesn't it feel real? I'm like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel real. Like, I totally feel like I'm just gonna get a text from her and it's gonna be like, haha, joke. Not that she would ever play a joke that was so cruel and sick, but like, it just, I don't know. It's weird. Like, I've had family members pass, and it's always weird when, like, a friend passes, because, like, hey, Luna, it just, it, it hurts differently, if that's the way that makes sense. Like, I'm always, like, readily prepared that my family is going to pass away, but, like, my friends, it's just weird. Hi, Taylor! So, yeah, I don't know. With Ellie, it's just, it's surreal. It's completely surreal. I don't even, I don't even know how to say it. Um, no, brownies, I don't, because it wouldn't be real, right? Like, it, on one hand, yeah, maybe is like a grief compens, like a way to deal with grief having that, but like, it's not real. Like, if an AI responded for my friend Ellie, like, it wouldn't be the same because it's a computer. It's not her. I don't I don't think so. I don't think I'd like that. And that's not to say that I don't wish, like, some of my family members that have passed happy birthday on their birthday. Like, um my aunt and I have the same birthday, and my aunt passed away in 2018. And so, like, every year on her birthday since she passed in 2018, so this is coming up on 8 years, like, I send her a happy birthday message and tell her that I miss her. I don't know. I told my grandma, because, like, my grandma had Facebook. My grandma had not logged into Facebook, like, 5 years before she passed, but I'll tell you, like, lately, especially with, like, my school, and she was always really interested in my college degree and, like, her grandkids getting their college degree and really succeeding in life. So, like, anytime I have an achievement, like, I go onto her Facebook Messenger and I'll be like, hey, grandma, just wanted to let you know I made the dean's list again. Like, she's not gonna answer, and if she does answer, it's either a hacker or ghosts are reaching out, ghosts in the machine for sure. But I don't know. It's, like I said, with the thing with Ellie, it's like, I don't know how to. I don't know if I'm just not dealing with it, or I'm not processing it, or what. It's just, I'm not. I know, it doesn't feel real. Like, I keep opening up my text chat to her, and I'm gonna send her a message and be like, please just tell me it's fake. Just, if you've been, like, if you're in the witness protection program, like, just give me a sign. It's fine. Like, that's, there's just no reason to be in the witness protection program. But, like, and besides, she wanted to be in the witness protection program. All she gotta do is all of her Star Wars costume. It's just, it's hard. I don't know if it's just like I'm not willing to, like, deal with it yet or not. I completely melted down about it on Wednesday. Like I said, being on the trip and, like, having that happen was not great, because, like, the trip is stressful as it is, and now we're adding on, like, more things. I have a 17-year-old that's my nemesis. I've officially decided that he is my nemesis, and I don't like him. Actually, I don't want to say that I don't like him. He just, he finds whatever button he knows that's gonna make me just, and he finds it and he presses it, and, like, it could change from day to day, because he just wants to, this kid, I don't want to say I hate him, because that sounds terrible. I don't hate anybody. That's not true. There are some people in this world that I absolutely hate and would wish to go away. Just go away. I'm not saying that they need to go anywhere particular in any form. I am just wanting them to go away to a box or a house, and they make no noise and they don't affect my life at all. No, he's not special needs. Nope. Nope. He is just a, yeah, so that's what the problem was, Chicken Wings, is I took his phone away, and that was part of the problem. Because, like, last year when we did this trip, like, everybody had their phones, and it was constantly a problem. And so this year, I gave everyone the rules that no one's having their phone. Like, we're just taking away everyone's phone. We're taking away all the teenagers' phones, because it was too much of a problem last year. Boy, was he mad. Baby did not like that. And I'm gonna start referring to him as baby because that's what he is. He's a giant toddler. Like, in fact, my toddlers behaved better than he does. Just so, and he's 17. He is my arch nemesis. I can't believe I have a 17-year-old arch nemesis. There are 20 years between us, but oh my gosh, this kid. Ugh. Do not. And I feel bad for this kid. Like, that's the thing, is like, I don't like this kid. He is my nemesis, and yet I still feel bad for him because he doesn't have any friends. He just doesn't have any friends, which makes me sad for him, which I'm sure contributes to his awful personality, but his not so charming personality is why he doesn't have any friends. Just like, I was a weird kid in high school and I still had friends. I'm a weird kid now and I still have friends. He is, I don't know if any of you guys, do any of y'all watch the Shaunaverse? Do any of y'all watch the Shaunaverse? Shauna the mom. She's got a whole, like, soap opera going on. You don't have many friends, but you at least have some friends. This kid has no friends. Okay, so there's this girl here on TikTok. Her name is Shauna the mom. She has a whole saga. And in one of the more recent episodes, because she puts like 30 to 45 minute episodes up on the tube, but then she like breaks them up on the clock app, right? So I'll watch the 30, 45 minute like blocks on the tube, but then I'll also watch the breakups. Anyway, in one of the episodes, one of the characters says, "You suck the joy out of every room you've ever been in." That's this kid. Like, I have started using that as a way. They do have a youth group for his age at church. I'm in charge of this youth group. Not in charge of the youth group. I'm in charge of the missions trip and the missions, youth on missions, which he's no longer allowed in because of his behavior. He made one of our past youth leaders cry because he just like, why are you even here? You're useless. He said this to another adult. Like, this kid, he's just mean. And I'm realizing now it's probably because he doesn't have any friends and he's just hurt and he's lashing out. But he is my nemesis, and I love him because I'm commanded to love him, and I feel bad for him. But also, he makes me so mad. Oh, he likes to insult you for no apparent reason whatsoever. Like, I made tamales for the trip, right? I made them last year, I made them this year, I made them exactly the same tamales. Well, he was like, "Who made the tamales?" And I was like, "Oh, well, that was me." And then he made sure for the rest of the night to constantly insult them. He's like, "They sucked last year. I don't even know who made them. Why would you even make them like that? They were just awful. They were so dry." And everyone's like, "Were they dry?" Like, because I had one. I didn't think they were dry. I think your mouth was messed up. And he's like, "No, they were dry. They sucked. Whoever made them shouldn't even bother next time." And he's looking at me because he knows I did it. And he's like, he gives you this smug look that makes you, and he just, oh. And then, like, and then I just was ignoring him. Like, I wasn't letting his insulting to my cooking bother me because everybody else was like, "Wow, they were really good." And I was just ignoring him, and he did not like that, to make sure that he was, yes, and he is the challenge life has given you. Yes, I said that the devil sent him to steal my joy, right? Like, that was my thing. Like, he was sent by the devil to steal my joy. That's what it is. To be, like, total churchy words. Like, that was the best way I could come up with. He just, do not like this kid. Ugh. But again, I also feel bad for him. So I don't like him, but I feel bad for him because he doesn't really have any friends, and that's probably why he's so mean. Did I put chilies in the tamale? No, I just put the meat. Oh, okay, Luna. I was probably going to start reading in 5 minutes, but it's fine. Did I put chilies in? I did not put chilies in. Usually I just do, like, the meat with the sauce inside the tamales, because put your hand out. What? What? I'm sorry. This way? Are you... Is that... What? What? I don't understand. Oh, sorry. What you put in tamales is very personal, and I don't know. All I do is meat and sauce. It's meat cooked in the sauce. I don't know what else I'm supposed to put in them. I am reading tonight. Yeah. Well, yeah, I am. Does this look like it comes from any place that has seasoning? just switch around. Switch around the R and the I. Could you turn gringa into ginger? Ginger! See? I am ginger, okay? Gringa, ginger, sound very similar. But I apparently made them okay, because everybody at the migrant camp said they tasted good. So I guess I did a good job. Hi, Victor. He better be glad I'm not dad. Yeah, the only person he seems to really respect is his father, so I don't know. This is the same kid who tried to punch me the one year. Like, he threatened to punch me like it was gonna go well. And that was the kid that, like, I just ignored. He went to punch me, and I didn't flinch. One, because I was thinking in the moment that if he's not gonna punch me, like, no kid is gonna, he's just feigning it so that I'll flinch, and I didn't flinch. I didn't want to flinch because I thought he was faking it anyway, but two, I was of the impression that if I did flinch, that would lose any little micron of authority I had with this kid. I cannot do a chakla. See comment earlier, gringa. I cannot hit a child with a chancla. First of all, not my culture, and two, the church frowns upon me hitting other people's children. Just saying. I mean, I would totally, like, the way he's talked to me, things he's said to me, if I ever said any of those things to my mother, I would have been smacked across the face. I was smacked across the face, and deservedly so. Alright. Let me set up a live goal for all y'all. Alright. Same rules as always. We hit the live goal, I read 4 chapters. We don't hit the live goal, I read 2. We are on chapter 17 of The Queen's Peril. Chapter 13. No, we're in chapter 17. And the Trade Federation blockade has just begun. So we're kind of getting up to the events leading up to Phantom Menace. Chapter 17. The first week under the Trade Federation blockade was both extremely tense and incredibly boring. Most of the time there was nothing to do but wait. Padme spent hours in the throne room with various government officials, theorizing how Naboo could defend itself and wondering which allies they could ask for help. Any communications they sent out were answered more than a little vaguely. There was no doubt that the Trade Federation was listening. She was never without her handmaidens. At least 2 were beside her at all time, while the others cycled in and out of the room on various errands. She began to give them their own assignments rather than waiting until they had retired for the evening and running a debrief as a group. It was not how the system was supposed to work, but they had to adapt. She was no closer to patching things up with Sabe, but the other girl seemed to have pushed all emotion aside and thrown herself into her duties as though there was nothing else to be done. Padme couldn't do anything but wait her out, too, even though all the waiting was starting to make her a bit short-tempered. The Viceroy refused to come down to the planet, nor would he send a live representative. He insisted that Amidala join him in his headquarters on one of the orbital ships, but that was obviously out of the question. Since she wouldn't cede to his demands, he began sending down droid emissaries, all of which carried a variation of the same message. Padme returned every one of them, unanswered and unsigned. No ship was allowed to enter or leave planetary atmosphere. The Naboo Royal Space Fighter Corps hadn't pressed the Trade Federation to see if they would actually shoot exiting vessels. They had run a few drills in low atmosphere and received an automated warning from a droid not to fly too high, but they hadn't seen any enemy ships flying in formation. The stalemate made no one happy, but it was better than an all-out war. On the 7th day of the blockade, an agricultural transport from Carlinus approached the orbital line. Governor Kelma had sent the shipment as a sign of good faith, a thank you for reopening lines of communication between the two worlds. It was a relatively small amount of grain, but the symbolic gesture was unmistakable. The ship was refused passage and forced to divert to Enarch, where the cargo was put into cold storage. It was the first real test of the blockade, and the Trade Federation had won. How much of the crop did we actually harvest? Amidala asked her agricultural advisor, several hours after the standoff was over and they'd accepted the ship wasn't coming. It's more complicated than that, Your Highness, Graf Sapala said. The first yield is always weaker, so we elected to turn most of it into fertilizer. We harvested maybe an eighth, and that was already replanted for the second half of the growing season. So when the legislature decided on half, they meant the second half? Amidala asked. She should have known that. There were too many details to keep straight. Such as it is, Your Highness, Sapala said. We were expecting the first shipment of off-world grain 2 days after the blockade was implemented, but it's from a planet allied with the Trade Federation, so we started looking elsewhere. The Carlini grain would have held us over, but it won't make a difference if nothing can get through. How much food do we have in reserve? The Queen's voice made the question seem cold, which covered Padme's rising concern. On world? Sapala said, to do some calculations. We can support the city of Theed for a month. There's more to Naboo than the city of Theed, Amidala said, a gentle rebuke. Of course, Your Highness. If we are feeding the whole planet, our supplies would last a week. Each population base has their own storage facilities, but we would have to supplement them from the capital. You're saying we have enough food for a week? Amidala asked. It seemed a very small amount of time. Public food, Your Highness, Sapala said. That doesn't take into account any food on the general market or what the farmers have in their private stores. Padme was about to ask if there was a census of that sort of thing, but something stopped her. Either there was, and she should have already looked it up, or there wasn't, and she'd only make Sapala look foolish when he had to admit it. Do you have an emergency plan for this sort of situation? Amidala asked instead. By region, yes, but the response is tailored toward natural disaster, not foreign blockades. We don't have one plan for the entire planet at the same time, came the reply. Erte will accompany you and help you draft one, Amidala said. We want something we can implement by the end of the day. You cannot eat Gungans! The agricultural advisor looked like he wanted to protest, but Erte gently guided him from the room. Has anything else changed? Amidala said. Chancellor Valorum's ambassadors should be here tomorrow, Bibble said. His office indicated they will meet with the Viceroy first, but with the blockade, that was probably inevitable anyway. We must put our faith in the ambassadors, Amidala said. Yane, please inform the kitchen that we are switching to rations, starting as soon as possible. If we have to make an announcement to the general populace, we should wish to be leading by example. Yanni curtsied and left the room. I don't suppose you would consider going into hiding until all of this is over, Panaka asked. No, Captain, Amidala said. But as always, we appreciate your concern for our safety. It was worth a try, he said. Padme dressed for the Chancellor's ambassadors with as much care as she might have been under better circumstances. She wore the red dress with the wide skirt and shoulders again. It was the most wearable dress that she had that was suitably regal, made so by careful design and Potoli fur trim. Yana had tweaked the outfit so that Padme no longer required an underdress. She had just a jumpsuit on, and the dress supported itself. That made the outfit lighter and easier to move in. Yane did an impeccable job of her makeup, and by the time the headpiece slid on, the jewel of Zenda pressing against her forehead, Padme was feeling almost confident. They all trooped into the throne room to wait, and passed the time by organizing ration plans. When 2 hours had gone by, Padme sent a message to Newt Gunray, reminding him that she knew the ambassadors were due. The Viceroy seemed smug. Do you think Republic ambassadors will be susceptible to bribery? She asked the room in general when the call was completed. I would hate to jump to conclusions, Bibble said, but nothing is impossible. Contact Senator Palpatine, Padme said. Maybe he can at least tell us who was sent. Senator Palpatine was available, but his image flickered out before they could have any real discussion. Bibble immediately declared what everyone was thinking. Invasion was nigh. Panaka and the governor quabbled how to respond, and before they could make any real decision, it was made for them. The Trade Federation ships were already landing. It was not enough time to scramble their ships. The pilots in the Theed hangar were the first targets, and they lost contact with them immediately. The few ships that made it to the sky were shot down before they could do any damage. It was only a matter of time before troops reached the palace. Panaka ordered them out of the throne room immediately. There were too many windows, and it was not a good place to stage a defense. Governor, I recommend you go to your office, Panaka said. The palace guard will do what they can to secure you there. Your Highness, it's time to go. Bibble looked terrified, but he went. Padme followed her guards back up to the suite. She was so busy trying to calculate the exact amount of time it would take to breach the palace doors that she didn't realize why they were headed there until just before they arrived. Then she turned and caught Sabe's hand. Anything we have to sort out, we can do it later, Sabe said. From this point on, I'm yours. It was an incredible gift. Padme didn't think she'd ever be able to swallow her pride like that, and she admired Sabe tremendously for it. This, she knew, was why Panaka had recruited her, but it was still remarkable to see. The changeover would happen more quickly than they'd ever managed it. Sabe shed orange robes for a black dress, all the handmaidens focusing on her for the time being. Alone for one last precious moment, Padme drifted over to the window in the corridor. The guards gave her space to think. Face solemn, she looked out over the city, committing the architecture to memory, even as the droid army marred it and making silent promises she wasn't entirely sure she could keep. Yes, so right now 2 Jedi and a Gungan are racing through the ocean. It's so weird to it's like I don't know, it's like a behind the scenes look while we know what's going on in the movie. Padme wiped the queen's face off before getting a set of robes for herself. She made sure the handmaidens looked to Sabe, not to her, for guidance. This was the real test, the first time they'd ever done it when it was real, personal danger involved. Sabe led them out onto the terrace, bidding the guards to join them, and they waited for the inevitable. Jar Jar Binks was having a terrible There we go! Look at that! Jar Jar Binks was having a terrible afternoon. Disaster had always plagued him, it was true, but today the galaxy seemed to be taking it to extremes. The accident was definitely his fault. Usually the mayhem he caused was more of a case of inadvertent bad luck, but this time he had really messed up. Forced to leave Oda Gunga and too afraid to stay in the deep water by himself, Jar Jar made what he thought was a pretty clever move. He'd gone up to the surface. He'd scrabble out living there. He decided until Boss Nass's temper had cooled, and then he tried going back. It was nothing a little more time wouldn't fix. He'd just stay out of it for a while. Something stuck in my teeth. He was not expecting his first week above water Naboo to include a fleet of ships descending to the planet's surface. The ships were ugly. There was no grace to the design at all. Instead, they were blocky and brown and altogether unpleasant. Also, they deposited large hovering tanks that didn't watch where they were going and didn't care whom they crushed. The upside was that someone rescued Jar Jar, and that rescuer was a Jedi. Gungans were an insular people, but they knew what the Jedi were, and if there was going to be a mess on the surface, Jar Jar was in good company. Wait a minute, are there Gungan Jedi? Now I wish to know, has there ever been a Gungan Jedi? Misa have a bad feeling about this. The downside was the Jedi and his apprentice wanted Jar Jar to take them to the underwater city, even though he'd only just been banished. They even had little breathing devices so they could handle the depth within. And then they all ended up in the planet core. It was the worst day ever. When the bubbles of the bongo popped open in the Theed estuary, Jar Jar didn't think he'd ever been so glad to see something that wasn't water. He'd heard stories about how uncivilized the Naboo were all his life, but the buildings he saw indicated that they must be at least reasonably intelligent. They were pretty enough, even though they were straight and domed instead of being fluid and curved. And there was even some art he thought he wouldn't be too out of place in a Gungan exhibit. The only problem was the city was covered in more of those ugly brown ships. By the time they had gotten safely out of the water, they had to move carefully through the city to avoid droid patrols, which was not really something Jar Jar was very good at. He managed to keep his mishaps mostly small, only tripping once, and then into a very quiet pile of rugs. At last they were in a small walkway over the street, and the Jedi named Qui-Gon called a halt. "Down there," he said. They looked carefully over the foliage and saw a strange procession. Several droids were escorting almost a dozen people dressed in various uniforms. In the middle was a short human female in a black dress and makeup Jar Jar would have recognized anywhere. The Jedi leapt down to attack the droids, and Jar Jar Binks followed them, straight into the arms of his destiny. Yes, the destiny, where you ruin the universe. You vote. You vote. Your fault. Your fault that the galaxy fell. All Jar Jar's fault. Are we actually going to find out about Darth Jar Jar in this book? Chapter 18. We are brave, Your Highness. The Jedi's choice was a hard one, and everything inside Padme screamed to stay with their people. She wasn't entirely sure she trusted Qui-Gon Jinn yet, and she knew Panaka would probably get himself killed if they stayed. And Governor Biddle seemed to think that going to Palpatine was their best chance now that they'd been overrun. And Padme agreed with him. No. He's not that bad. That's insulting to Jar Jar. No. Jar Jar's more like, who's the one? He lost his race. He's also from Kentucky, though. He's not a senator. He's a representative. Who's the guy? He's the one who championed the files bill with Rokana. I want to say Lindsey Graham, but that's not right. Oh, goodness gracious. It's not Kennedy. I can't remember his name. Anyway, him. I'd go with him, probably, more than McConnell. I'd say it's him. Now I'm going to look that up. Hang on. Massey. Massey. Jar Jar is more like Thomas Massey. There we go. Yeah. Thomas Massey. They couldn't all go on the ship. Space was full of hard limits that no amount of clever negotiation would cross. There was only a moment to choose who would stay and who would go, and Padme didn't even get to make the final call. Everyone looked to the Queen, and Sabe declared that they would go to the Coruscant. Yane took Sache's hand and walked over to stand with Bibble. There wasn't even time for a proper goodbye. They had to get to the hangar, and then it was all blaster fire and carbon scoring until they were free of the blockade. I thought Erte was the one who stayed. I thought it was Yane and Erte that stayed behind. No, I'm pretty sure it was Yane and Erte that stayed behind. Hang on. Where is it? Because it says... Pretty sure it says... In this one... Nope. Hang on. Almost there. Hang on. Nope. Two men who is Supreme Chancellor. La la la. get it. This is what we're writing. Gold, all silent. We are brave, Your Highness. Padme confirmed. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Nope, it doesn't even say. I could have sworn that it said. She took the governor's hand briefly, then beckoned to 3 of her handmaidens. Those not chosen began to cry softly. Amidala embraced them and whispered words of encouragement. Yeah, I could have sworn that it said their names. I guess not. Okay. Yane took Sache's hand and walked over to stand with Bibble. There wasn't even time for a proper goodbye. They had to get to the hangar and then blah blah blah. As Naboo disappeared behind them, neither Padme nor Sabe could shake the feeling that they had only just begun to encounter things that were beyond their control. The first things the droids did was scan them. This was mostly painless, except for the small prick that accompanied the blood test, and then they were all shoved into a small house off the courtyard where they'd been captured. You remain here until you have been designated, said the droids who seemed to be in charge. Any attempt to escape will be met with violence. Sache had no plans to escape. She and Yane sat together. Several of the guards paced restlessly, but the girls were deep in their thoughts. Even now, the Queen was running the blockade, and they would have no real way of knowing if she'd been successful unless their enemies decided to tell them. After half an hour, a droid came with an order to remove Governor Bibble and take him back to the palace. He left alone, and Sache could only hope that he would be all right. They waited another hour. Even the most restless of the guards stopped pacing and sat down. Yane moved closer, and for the first time, Sache didn't care. She wasn't alone, and even if her feelings were complicated, at least they would have each other. Finally, the door opened. On your feet, humans, said the droid. Come with me. They were marched through the center of Theed and into the largest market square. Everything in the square had been flattened. The fountains, the benches, the statues. Usually the market hummed with life and commerce, but right now the only sounds were the clank of droid feet and assorted noises that accompanied the hasty erection of a small tent city. You have been designated for Camp 4, the droid informed them. Prepare for incarceration. They were escorted to one of the new tents and pushed through the flap. Inside were 2 rows of cots and what appeared to be a shared toilet at the back. A few guards were waiting inside, and Sache was relieved to see that Mariek Panaka among them. Mariek pushed her way toward them and looked closely at their faces. Did she get away? She asked, her voice low. 2 Jedi found us, Sache said quietly. If they can't get her off planet, no one can. Yane was examining the setup inside the tent with a critical expression. It was easy to tell that there weren't enough beds. She doubted the droids would be taking requisitions. The earliest Padme could make it back was 3 days, and that was if everything went perfectly on the trip. In the Senate and on the trip back. If she took much more than a week, they'd all be uncomfortably hungry and thirsty, unless the Trade Federation decided to do something to keep them alive. The perfect storm of Naboo's food shortage and planetary blockade would get even worse if there was a water shortage as well. It was the hot season, and the camp was definitely overcrowded. Mariek spoke quietly to a young guard with a wide face and dark hair. He nodded and went to the opening of the tent. It was clear he'd been assigned to keep watch. Mariek gestured to the girls to come close. They had no idea how well the droids could hear. Report, Mariek said. She could tell Yane had been running logistics. We should be all right for a few days, Yane said. Much longer, and the food will be a major issue. I haven't located a water source yet, but there used to be 4 fountains in the market, so there must be something somewhere. That takes care of this tent, said a guard Sache didn't recognize. What about the rest of them? We'll do a survey once the building stops, Mariek said. There's no point in taking inventory when the droids are still moving things around. We should find out how many camps there are, said the guard at the tent flap. He had a nice voice. The droid said that this was Camp 4. They appear to be concentrating people based on their jobs, and said the guard by the door. Everyone I've seen in this camp so far has been some kind of government uniform. Where's Bibble? Mariek asked. They took him back to the palace, Yane said. They probably didn't want him around in case they need someone to send transmission. Outside the tent, the construction noises stopped. Mariek went to the entrance and lifted the flap. The whole market was covered with canvas, and she could hear the confused hum of scared citizens. There were droids about, but they didn't seem to care if their prisoners wandered around as long as they stayed away from the charred boundary markers. All right, Mariek said. The camp is set up on a grid system, which makes it easy to divide into quadrants. See if you can get a head count of each area and a general idea of who's here, and then report back. Oh, and find a water source. What about the droids? Shouldn't we monitor their patrol patterns and see what we can tell about their defenses? One thing at a time, Sergeant Tanra, Mariek said. People first, and then we'll worry about the droids. Sache started toward the tent flap, but Mariek caught her by the collar and pulled her back. Not you two, she said. Yane started to protest, and Mariek held up a hand. I know what you're capable of. I need you to come up with a way to record everything in such a way that droids won't notice it. You two are going to be the ones to sort through all the information we gather and figure out what we can do with it. With that, she left them. The two handmaidens stared at each other for a moment. Please tell me you put on the underrobe this morning, Yane said. The flame-colored fabric was painstaking to clean, though they seemed less important now. To combat sweat stains, Yane had designed an underrobe of orange Carlini silk. Sometimes the girls went without it, though, because adding an extra layer was too warm. I did, Sache said. Good, Yane said, pulling her outer robe over her head. I'm going to need your clothes. Cleaning carbon scoring off a droid was nobody's idea of a good time, but Padme didn't mind. It was worth it to have a reason to hang around the busier parts of the ship rather than being sequestered with the Queen. That was why Sabe had given her the job, of course. Though Padme didn't for a second doubt that her double was also deeply amused at the situation. They'd all been hired because they could multitask, after all, and if they let despair overwhelm them, they would be in real trouble. Padme scraped at the metal for a while before she became aware that she wasn't alone. The Gungan, Jar Jar Binks, seemed amiable enough. She had never been a Gungan before, and she doubted that Jar Jar could be representative of the whole race any more than she could be of hers. But one ally was a good place to start. What do you think, little guy? She asked the droid that had saved all their lives not that long ago. She spoke too low for Jar Jar to hear her. Once we're done freeing our planet from the Trade Federation, should the Queen try to make peace with the Gungans? They'll definitely remember her for that. The blue astromech beeped what sounded like an affirmation, and Padme smiled at it. All right, then, she said. I'll add it to the list. It was nothing personal, but Sabe was really starting to hate Tatooine. The planet was dry, and even with the environmental controls inside the ship, Sabe could swear she could taste the dust. The worst part was that she had to stay in the gigantic black dress, and she could only watch as Rabe and Erte helped Padme into the plainest outfit they had available. Blue trousers and a tunic. Do you think the Jedi know? Sabe asked. They're supposed to be able to sense things. I'm pretty sure Master Qui-Gon is close to figuring it out, Padme said. But he hasn't given any indication that he'll stop us. He might when you try to throw yourself in danger, Rabe said. None of the handmaidens were particularly thrilled with Padme's plan. Each of them had been sure Panaka would shoot it down. Padme insisted that he be consulted anyway. Since this involved getting him alone on a very crowded ship, it took some doing, but there wasn't time for infighting right now. Obviously, I'm not happy about being here, Panaka had said when she'd asked him, but you've told me about it instead of just going ahead, and I appreciate that. The Jedi might figure it out, Padme said. We can trust their discretion after the fact, Panaka said, and I understand why you need to see this for yourself. I would feel the same way in your shoes. I do, actually, but there's no way I can get home any sooner without you, so what I'm saying is, please be careful, but I'm in. Someone's on the ramp, Erte said, reminding them of the immediacy of the moment. We'd better hurry up. They let Padme's hair down, lacking the time to finish pinning her braids up. Sabe thought about a million things to say and couldn't find the exact words for any of them. She wanted to apologize, wanted to make it right, but they never seemed to have the time. All she could do was accept her place as she had always done. I'll be careful, Padme promised. Try to keep busy while I'm gone. It'll make the time go faster. I was going to have a chat with the astromech, but they took him along, Erte complained. See if you can get the pilot to set up a flight simulator, Padme suggested. That won't take too much power. The girls brightened at the thought of having something to do, but Sabe still reached out for Padme's hand when they walked by. I'll be careful, Padme promised again, for Sabe's ears alone. You better, Sabe said. This wig itches, and I don't want to wear it forever. It was almost like normal. There were about 3,000 people crammed into the market square, all of them security or palace personnel. None of the kitchen staff was present, which was alarming, but the droids distributed rations at the sunset, and that was better than nothing. Mariek and Sergeant Tanra put their heads together and came up with something like a duty schedule, since they couldn't all sleep at the same time. Yane and Sache shared a cot. I'm sorry, Yane said. There was nothing to unpack, so they just sat awkwardly in the piles of fabric Yane had already salvaged. I know this makes you uncomfortable. I've never... Sache hesitated, then she bit her lip and kept going. I've never had to spend this much time with someone I wanted to be professional. I understand completely, Yane told her, but it does feel good to finally talk about this in the open. I could have done without the invasion, Sache said, but yes. Yane spent the afternoon shredding silk. Even though Sache did what she could to help, Yane made a mess of her hands in the process. The repetitive pressure of tearing silk raised angry red welts in the soft skin between her fingers and thumb. She washed them as clean as she could and left them open to the air because the only scraps she had to wrap them with were already spoken for. She pushed the thin mattress off their cot, exposing the metal frame, and tied about 1/3 of the strips longwise from head to foot. It's not much of a loom, she said when she was done, but it will do. She put the mattress back on the cot, covering her work, and shoved the leftover strips of silk underneath the bed. It wasn't much of a hiding place either, but this was the time for doing the best you could. We'll weave a code with the rest of the pieces, she explained as she and Sache tried to fall asleep. They were both exhausted from the events of the day, but sleep was hard to come by. It'll be something simple, like the old com code we all learned as a memory game when we were kids. Something that all the people will understand and the droids will overlook. And because it's under the mattress, it will always be hidden if someone comes into the tent. It was a good idea and better than anything Sache had come up with. The stone cobbles were too hard to scratch into, and they didn't even have any chalk, much less a personal device. Are you scared? Yane asked. You've barely said anything. There isn't really anything to say, Sache said. And yes, I'm scared. I don't know what's happened to my family or my friends, and I still don't know if the Queen made it off the planet. I just get quiet sometimes, that's all. I know, Yane said. It's one of the things I like about you. Sache blushed. In her 12 years, she had never talked so openly about her affections before. I know you like to keep your feelings to yourself, Yane said. We don't get a lot of privacy, and I respect yours, but I wanted you to know, I do like you. I like you too, Sache said, mostly to the uncaring mattress. On a dusty world with 2 bright suns, a little boy looked up from his work and saw an angel. And thus ends our reading for tonight. I love this book. We have 21. We've got 6 more chapters to read, roughly. And that's it. It's such a short book. A not fun part is coming up soon, though. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I do. Well, I'm going to have to read it anyway, but don't tell me that. It's going to make me sad, isn't it? It's going to make me sad. I don't want to be sad. It's going to make me sad. Well, if there's going to be a not fun part, it's got to be within the next 6 chapters, I guess. But still, it's going to make me sad. I'm not going to like it. Am I? I'm going to hate it. I'm going to absolutely hate it, aren't I? As long as it's not Sache. Sache? Yane. Sache. Angry. Alright, angry's better than sad. As long as it's not, something doesn't happen to poor Sache, because Sache's only 12. She's so little. Mini Mando just turned 11. Like, that's the age of my kid. Like, oh. That's the weird part now, is like, I remember watching this and identifying with Padme, and now I'm like, I identify with Padme's mother. Like, just the idea. Just chapter 18. Utini. No! Anyway. I have all these burns that I'm healing from. I got this one on my hand. I totally burned myself last week. It hurt. I was working on something, and here, I'll show you my leg. See this? I was an idiot. I was messing with my hot glue gun, and my hot glue gun was stuck. And I, as an idiot, was trying to like shove hot glue through it over my leg. And I got boiling hot glue on my leg. And then I, as an idiot, went and swiped it off with my finger, and then my finger and my leg were burning. And I'm just going, And then a couple days later, I grabbed a griddle with my hand. So the church that we were at, they have a broken oven. It doesn't. So the door on it is broken. The front part of the door is there. The handle is there. You can pull it open, but the actual like thick part of glass on the front that makes the door stay down and is heavy is not there. So when you need to take stuff in and out of the oven, you've got to like hold the door open and slide stuff in and out, which is not great when you. So I was holding the door open. I pushed the stuff in the oven, and then I went to like brace myself on the counter to stand back up, but then I also had an electric griddle on the counter because I was making pancakes, and I missed the counter and grabbed the griddle instead. So I got my hand on the side of the griddle. It was a fun week, and all on top of it again. And my friend passed away, and I have that 17-year-old kid that's my nemesis, and it was a lot. I will say though that of everything in last week though, the kids that I get to interact with at Splash Camp they weigh so much on my heart. I love those kids, and some of them. There's one kid in particular. I found out. Ooh! Why would you do that, Luna? I found out that the kid, I met him last year when I went. He is labeled as a quote-unquote problem child. He is not a problem child. At least he's not for me. He is absolutely sweet. He does act out a little bit, but it's because he doesn't get any attention from anyone ever unless he is acting out. So, and, oh no, Luna. He just has always been really sweet. And I found out this trip that he's actually the same age as Mini Mando. And despite all of his issues at home and everything like that, like, he's an honor roll student. This kid, I don't know what it is about him. I don't know. My mom heart goes out to him. Like, he's got a terrible home life, and I know lots of kids have terrible home lives, but I don't know these kids, and I don't know their names, and I don't know their faces, and I'm too much of an empath and a sucker to be like, I don't know what it is. But this kid, he just weighs on my heart, because he's very sweet, but he'll tell you he doesn't feel like anybody in the world loves him, and that breaks my heart. That breaks my mom's heart. Especially after finding out he's the same age as Mini Mando. Like, they're only a couple months apart. And I'm like, I could not imagine my kids not thinking that somebody doesn't love them. I mean, my kids know that, like, lots of people love them. It's particularly, like, I make sure that my kids know that, like, if they don't think that there's somebody in their corner, like, if they're at their absolute lowest and they think that there's nobody in their corner and nobody loves them, that they need to know that I will always be in their corner. I will always love them. I don't care what it is that they do. I will still love them. Yeah, if you murder someone, I'm going to turn you in. I'm going to take you to jail, but I'm not going to stop loving you. This is not Dexter, okay? Not Dexter. It breaks my heart to know that there are kids who don't think that they have love. It really does. Because I just couldn't imagine my kids not feeling that way. So, anyway, it is 11 o'clock. I am very sleepy. It is really sad. Like I said, this kid, I don't know what it is about. Like, there's, like, a lot of kids at this camp have these similar issues and have similar home lives and all these things. But this kid, in particular, just, I don't know. Like, I knew about his home life last year. I knew all the situation, like, last year. And, like, this whole year before going to Splash Camp, I was like, I hope he's there again. I hope I get to see him. I hope he's doing well. Like, I'm worried about him. Not comply with the For You feed eligibility standards? What? I just got a notice for an explicit live. Body exposure and sexualized behaviors? What? 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 Is it because the way I'm sitting? Okay. Okay. Whatever. That's weird. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I always get the weirdest weird live things. Anyway, hope you guys have a good night. Bye.